Those deaths are on the rise across the country, the state, and right.
DEA agents have raided the private office of a sitting U.S. senator, uncovering massive quantities of
30 million people. That's how many people could die from the amount of fentanyl. Just
be clear, this is not the end.
Police say the streets of Pueblo are safer after a major operation.
Is what the DEA says is the largest counterfeit fentanyl pill seizure in.
Have you ever wondered why, in such a short time, America keeps getting hit by one shocking event after another? Stuff that literally takes your breath away. It's not just one isolated thing. It feels like everything is slipping out of control fast, like time got sped up, and the future is suddenly right in our face. Drugs are pouring across the highways, millions of fake pills sneaking into neighborhoods, warehouses turning into death traps, whole mountain areas covered in waves of poison, records getting broken one after another, networks spreading from state to state and then reaching around the world. 10 big things, not happening separately, but hitting one right after the other like warning knocks. Are you seeing this as just news or as signs? Stick with us, because the real picture is even darker than what's already come out. If you still believe humanity has hope, please leave a prayer in the comments below. Just a simple way to hold on to faith in all this chaos. Amen. Now come with me as we pull back the layers and reveal the raw, dark, chaotic truth about what's really going on in America at the start of 2026. The Fentanyl Death Highway in Washington State. Interstate 5 stays open every day. Trucks keep rolling one after another through the quiet neighborhoods of Washington State. But some loads aren't food or regular goods. Hidden inside pickup trucks and semi-trucks, something invisible is moving up the West Coast, quietly passing through Whidbey Island, Arlington, Tacoma, then Lacey. It reminds us that danger doesn't always need noise to spread fear. The uneasy feeling doesn't come from movies or rumors. It comes when familiar roads suddenly turn into highways of death. When peaceful suburbs become drop-off and pickup spots, the line between safe and deadly gets so thin you hardly notice where you stand in the picture anymore. According to Fox News, after 18 months of quiet surveillance, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, working with ICE and the FBI, took down a major distribution network run by the Sinaloa cartel right inside Washington State. The operation ended with 19 people arrested, from leaders in Mexico to folks living legally here in the U.S. who helped coordinate, hide, and move the drugs. What they seized shows this wasn't small-time stuff. They recovered 465 pounds of methamphetamine, 269 pounds of fentanyl, 23 pounds of cocaine, and 6.4 pounds of heroin, plus over $300,000 in cash. There were also 23 guns, including rifles and handguns. This wasn't just selling. It was an organized system ready to use violence to protect the flow. Especially troubling, the fentanyl they took is estimated to equal about 6.9 million lethal doses. When you think about the population in the big cities around Puget Sound, that number stops you cold. This isn't some far-off risk anymore. It's real and right here. Revelation 9:21 says, "They did not repent of their murders, their magic arts, their sexual immorality, or their thefts." When fentanyl is called a modern kind of magic that numbs the will and steals lives in silence, those old words suddenly sound more like a warning than just a judgment. The investigation showed the Sinaloa cartel isn't only smuggling across the border. They've built a whole support network inside the U.S. Suburban houses became stash spots. Drivers were hired to move loads up from California into Washington, turning everyday highways into dangerous pipelines. One detail that caught investigators' attention: some of the fentanyl pills were stamped with a swastika symbol, not as a political message, but as a brand mark, turning death into a labeled product, handled and sold as coldly as anything else on the shelf. Revelation 13:16-17 says, "It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark, so that no one could buy or sell unless they had the mark. When a symbol gets stamped on poison to control buying and selling, that Bible passage hits close to home without needing extra explanation. Some of the suspects had been deported from the US before, but came back and kept working in the network. That shows the problem isn't just the physical border. It's how society deals with criminal groups that have grown into full cross-border organizations. Genesis 19 tells the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, where corruption spread so wide there was no turning back. Looking at what happened in Washington next to that story, the real similarity isn't the punishment, it's the process. Evil doesn't show up all at once. It grows slowly, gets normal, and gets tolerated. The bust in Puget Sound stopped one dangerous stream, but it also raises a bigger question about all the other routes still out there, undiscovered. If a quiet state can become a major hub like this, what does the full picture look like across America? This is only the tip of the iceberg. In other places, the numbers are even bigger and the pace is even faster. When the next case comes to light, this wave will be too big for anyone to stand on the sidelines and think they're safe. The United States just set a record with over 880 pounds of fentanyl. More than 880 pounds of fentanyl. That's not just some regular bust. It's the biggest amount of this poison ever seized in US history. When the numbers came out, everything kind of stopped for a moment, because this much could cause way more damage than any drug disaster we've seen before. Along with the fentanyl, they grabbed millions of fake pills, hundreds of pounds of meth, dozens of guns, and millions of dollars in cash. This wasn't some small local operation anymore. Right away, it got ranked as one of the biggest takedowns ever on American soil. Reports say the operation was led by the DEA and happened all at once across several states, from Albuquerque in New Mexico, Layton in Utah, to spots in Texas and Arizona. They raided storage units, warehouses, and vehicles almost at the same time, which shows they'd been watching this network closely for a long while. The stuff they took included about 880 pounds of fentanyl in powder and pill form, 25 pounds of pure fentanyl powder, 176 pounds of meth, 16 pounds of cocaine, and close to 10 pounds of heroin. Plus, around $5 million in cash, 49 guns, some ghost guns, and others with switches to make them fully automatic, and a bunch of fancy cars used for moving the drugs and laundering money. Just in Albuquerque, they seized about 2.7 million fentanyl pills, which made up most of the total haul. When you compare that number to the population of New Mexico, the investigators couldn't hide how worried they were about what this much poison could do if it hit the streets. Revelation 16:1 talks about the time when the bowls of wrath are poured out on the earth, bringing sores and plagues that spread everywhere. A lot of people see fentanyl like a man-made epidemic that spreads fast and kills on a huge scale, as a modern version of that warning, not just some far-off symbol. One thing that stands out is how this group was set up. It didn't look like your typical old-school gang. The bosses were running things from outside the US, while the hiding, breaking it down, and handing it out were done by separate cells working on their own in different states. That made it a lot harder to spot and track. Revelation 9:20 says people still wouldn't turn away even after seeing all those disasters. Here, that warning feels very real when the numbers keep climbing, but so do the demand, the profits, and how much risk these criminal groups are willing to take. Once the news broke, reactions on social media came fast. Plenty of folks were shocked at how huge this was, while others just felt helpless, seeing record after record get broken with no sign the crisis is slowing down. At times like this, you realize the plain numbers hit harder emotionally than any opinion piece. When the figures go beyond what anyone can picture, it forces people to face the real question: how safe is our world right now? Some say it's just because of policy or weak law enforcement, but that doesn't really explain why fentanyl has grown so much over the last 10+ years. When it goes from local to federal to crossing regions, it's not about one weak link anymore. Revelation mentions over and over how disasters increase before judgment, not to scare us, but to warn about what happens when order breaks down. In that picture, fentanyl shows up as a modern sign of things out of control, where death gets made, shipped, and sold like any industrial product. This record bust was a serious blow to one of the most dangerous groups ever operating in the US. But even the law enforcement folks admit it's not the end. It's just one piece of a much bigger problem. Because even with over 880 pounds taken off the streets, that's only what we can see. The real question is what's still out there we haven't found yet. And the next one might not just shock us, it could bring a whole new level of danger that's smarter and harder to spot. 2.7 million fake fentanyl pills found in record-breaking bust in Albuquerque. The New Mexico desert isn't just dry from the heat, it's also hiding a quiet betrayal in everyday life. What looks like a regular pain pill can hide a deadly dose inside, and the scariest part is that many folks think they're safe. When a pill looks like it's there to help but actually leads to death, are you sure you're trusting the right thing? Albuquerque seems like a calm southwestern city where desert life just keeps rolling along. But behind that quiet front is a well-organized distribution hub. Fake pills are made and moved like they're on an assembly line. They're pressed to look exactly like OxyContin, hitting right at people's habits and trust, turning something familiar into the most dangerous weapon. The DEA raid revealed a number that shocked the whole country. They seized 2.7 million counterfeit fentanyl pills in Albuquerque. That's about 1.5 million lethal doses, plus 11.5 pounds of fentanyl powder, 3.3 pounds of cocaine, nearly 7.7 pounds of heroin, over $610,000 in cash, and 49 guns, including ghost guns and modified weapons. This wasn't small-time dealing, it was a calculated system. The suspects used storage units scattered around the city, renting them short-term to stay under the radar, then shipped the pills to Santa Fe and nearby areas. Every step was designed to hide where the pills really came from, so users believed they were taking real prescription meds. That silence and secrecy planted a hard-to-name fear in American hearts. This mirrors a pattern the Bible talks about clearly. In 2 Thessalonians 2-9-10, it describes the nature of deception in the last days. The lawless one will come, empowered by Satan, with all kinds of counterfeit miracles, signs, and wonders, and with every sort of evil deception aimed at those who are perishing. When evil doesn't show up with violence but with clever fakes, people walk right into the trap. The public's reaction wasn't just anger, it was confusion too. Folks wondered how a city with modern controls could become a major hub for millions of fake pills. But the answer isn't in technology. It's in how deeply trust was exploited. Revelation 13:14 explains this further with the power of deception. It performs great signs and deceives those who live on the earth by those signs. In today's world, you don't need miracles from heaven. Just a pill that looks real enough to make people believe and hand over their lives. Some say this is just a result of addiction and weak law enforcement. But when fakes are mass-produced, nicely packaged, and shipped across regions, it's no longer a personal issue. It becomes a strategy built on manipulating what people perceive, turning hope for healing into a tool of destruction. That's why the Albuquerque case means more than just a big DEA win. It shows a bigger picture of a time when real and fake are getting harder to tell apart. The Bible doesn't talk about modern pills, but it nails the way deception works. Death disguised as something safe. What they seized stopped millions of deadly doses from hitting the streets, but the danger hasn't gone away completely. The warning is that each of us has to stay alert about what we trust, because in these final times, the most dangerous fakes always wear the most familiar faces. From the New Mexico desert, that network hasn't stopped. New routes and other hubs are forming, and ahead lies an even darker story, where the industrialization of death keeps growing, leaving us with the question, will we wake up in time before the price becomes impossible to undo? 1.7 million fake fentanyl pills in Colorado. Shocking secret uncovered in a Denver storage unit. Highlands Ranch looked like the perfect safe spot. Neat rows of storage units, security cameras, automatic gates, and quiet suburban streets outside Denver. On the surface, everything seemed harmless, like danger was far away somewhere else. But right under that normal-looking cover, the fake stuff had been hiding long enough to leave us stunned when the truth came out. The shock didn't come from a big noisy raid. It came from a chilling discovery. A storage unit bought at auction suddenly turned out to be the deadliest pill factory in Colorado history and the 6th biggest in the whole country. No sirens, no chase, just silent boxes sitting behind a steel door waiting to be opened. Inside, the numbers were plain and brutal. About 1.7 million counterfeit fentanyl pills, plus nearly 26.5 pounds of fentanyl powder, enough to press millions more pills. There were also 2 pounds of meth, showing this wasn't some random hiding spot. It was part of a planned, long-term operation. That early feeling of safety flipped upside down fast. The peaceful suburbs turned out to be the ideal disguise, the last place anyone would suspect. Units rented legally, names switched around, loads split up, locations rotated. A clever, quiet network dug deep into everyday community life. The whole setup felt like a silent indictment, showing how evil has gone way beyond ordinary crime. Revelation 6-7-8 pictures the fourth horseman. There was a pale horse, and its rider was named Death, with Hades following close behind. They were given power over a fourth of the earth to kill by sword, famine, plague. Death doesn't need to be loud. It gets permission to spread, step by step, taking over living space. What's so smart about this setup is how it stays unnoticed. No signs, no open deals, just pills made to look exactly like OxyContin, packed perfectly, ready to flood the streets. Can you spot the danger when everything is wrapped in something so familiar, legal-looking, and clean? Isaiah 5:14 spoke like an accusation long ago. The grave enlarges its throat and opens its mouth without limit. The proud, the noisy crowd, all fall into it. That Denver storage unit was like a mouth already open, quietly swallowing the belief that suburbs are safe from evil. People who doubt often call this an accident or coincidence, but the size and the way it was organized prove the opposite. This is industrialized death, where every pill is carefully counted and planned. When faking becomes the strategy, when safety gets used as cover, that indictment stops being just a figure of speech. Revelation doesn't only describe disaster, it exposes how it works. Death doesn't come from one big event. It comes through a system, through things so familiar that people stop paying attention. We're seeing how darkness picks the brightest looking places to hide. Warnings came early. Evil would dress itself up in order and safety. The Colorado find isn't just a record number, it's proof of a pattern spreading wider. And if one suburban storage unit could hide millions of deadly pills, what's waiting behind the next locked door in the mountains or neighboring states? Record-breaking drug wave in the mountain states. 8.7 million fentanyl pills and 3,100 pounds of meth. Picture the Rocky Mountain map with its familiar borders. Colorado right in the middle, Utah to the west, Montana stretching up north, and Wyoming sitting among those wide-open high plains. On paper, it's all mountains, not many people, long distances, and it seems hard to get into. But as hotspots light up one after another, you start seeing an unusual flow moving along this mountain range. It spreads from Denver to Salt Lake City, then reaches Billings and Cheyenne. The drug distribution network connects up again like underground channels. The rough terrain actually helps. Hiding spots deep in valleys, cross-state trucks turning mountain highways into transport corridors. What the map shows isn't empty space anymore. It's a whole region under steady pressure. According to the latest numbers released, the DEA's Rocky Mountain Division seized a total of about 8.7 million fentanyl pills and close to 3,100 pounds of methamphetamine across the mountain states. Colorado takes the biggest share with around 6.7 million pills and 2,202 pounds of meth, making it the main hotspot in this wave. Utah comes next, with about 2 million pills and 637 pounds of meth, showing the flow doesn't slow down when it crosses state lines. Montana and Wyoming have smaller numbers, but they're still noticeable because the spread is reaching everywhere. Montana recorded about 24,000 fentanyl pills and 53 pounds of meth, while Wyoming seized around 5,000 pills and nearly 15 pounds of meth. These figures prove that even the sparsely populated states aren't outside the distribution map anymore. Things picked up speed with a string of big busts. In Colorado, one single case grabbed 733 pounds of meth and 1.7 million fentanyl pills, the largest in the state's history. Temporary stash houses, cross-state trucks, and quick transfer points show how the cartels keep feeding this area with a steady, non-stop supply. Reactions on social media spread fast once the numbers came out. Lots of folks expressed worry that this mountain region, usually seen as peaceful and safe, has turned into a major hotspot. It's easy to feel that shared unease when a familiar map gets covered with these cold, hard stats. Matthew 24:7 paints a bigger picture. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. The spread of fentanyl and meth feels like a kind of spiritual famine, quietly eating away at communities across wide areas, ignoring state borders. Looking at the whole scene, the mountain states aren't just separate spots anymore. They're one connected area, feeling the same impact. Luke 21:11 goes on to say, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places." These skyrocketing drug numbers reflect a modern kind of pestilence, spreading along highways and stash spots, instead of through germs. Some say it's just the market shifting. Demand pulls in supply. But the timing, the scale, and how it's spreading all match up in a way that brings those Bible warnings back with fresh meaning. It's not one lone state. It's an entire geographic region under the same pressure. So, the mountain states become a clear snapshot of how far this problem has grown. When such a big area gets hit by the same drug wave, the question isn't just about individual busts anymore. It's about where this flow heads next. And when you zoom the map out, beyond the Rockies, new bright spots are starting to show up elsewhere, signaling that this story isn't stopping at these 4 mountain states. International Lionfish Mayog 3 Campaign. The global fight against deadly poison. This time the picture goes way beyond state or national borders. Shipping routes connect several continents, from Central America and East Asia to North America, forming a worldwide network that runs at the same time. When international agencies show up together in one operation, we know the problem has reached a whole new level. Operation Lionfish Mayog 3 was carried out with cooperation from Interpol, DEA, and many regional forces, stretching from Mexico to Asia and North America, including the US. The combined results show about 76 metric tons of synthetic drugs seized, equal to nearly 168,000 pounds, or around 84 short tons in American units. That number shows a cross-border flow that's been around long enough to build a stable system. The chain of links starts coming into clear view when the pieces from each area are put together. Methamphetamine alone makes up about 51 metric tons, equal to nearly 112,000 pounds, or more than 56 short tons. Along with that came hundreds of thousands of fentanyl pills, heroin, cocaine, and new precursors not yet on the controlled list. It shows how criminal groups keep changing their recipes to get around the law. In Mexico, authorities seized over 190,000 fentanyl pills, along with about 3,750 pounds of methamphetamine. In Asia, transit points were uncovered with hundreds of millions of yaba pills. While in North America, DEA found MDMA mixed with fentanyl, a combination that raises the risk of death a lot. When these pieces are placed side by side, the operating map becomes much clearer. Arrests reached 386 people, including some on the red notice list, who were stopped at international airports, like Incheon. At the same time, purple notices were sent out worldwide about new synthetic substances, showing that the flow of chemicals is moving just as fast as the finished products. You can feel the pace picking up as each link gets pulled into the light. Matthew 24:6-7 describes a big scene. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, for nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. In today's picture, wars aren't just military anymore. They're also cross-border networks causing widespread harm, spreading right along with globalization. When countries have to team up to deal with it, the connections in the problem become obvious. Revelation 11:18 talks about the time when the nations were angry, a widespread tension when order gets challenged. Campaigns like Lionfish Mayag 3 reflect that setting, where many governments face the same threat at once. Some people see this as pure international crime, driven by market demand, but the timing, scale, and reach all happening together show that what's going on is no longer limited to one area. The shipping routes, precursors, and finished products are set up like a closed ecosystem. From a warning point of view, the big thing to notice is the overall rollout. It's not separate cases anymore. It's a chain of connected actions, each link with its own clear role. When one spot gets taken down, another quickly fills in to keep the flow going without stopping. That makes the danger truly global, like never before. Both Matthew and Revelation point to spreading among the nations. In today's world, the synthetic drug network reflects a different kind of conflict, where geographic borders are no longer much of a barrier. We're seeing how a regional problem gets blown up into a worldwide challenge. And since this international campaign has only exposed the tip of the flow, the bigger picture behind it will keep growing, bringing deeper connections between areas that few people thought about before. From America to the whole world, it proves God's word was right, and humanity is running out of time. When you put these 6 past events side by side, a bigger picture starts to come into view. It's no longer just scattered news bits, but one clear, steady flow. From the highway of death in Washington with hate symbols tied to fentanyl, to record numbers, hundreds of kilograms and millions of deadly pills seized. It's not only showing crime, it's showing a society sliding downhill faster than ever. In the middle of this picture, have you ever asked yourself, why are all these things happening at the same time and getting bigger and bigger? Looking closer, America looks like the center of a spreading wave. 400 kilograms of fentanyl seized across the nation. Just Albuquerque alone had 2.7 million pills. Colorado passed 1.7 million pills. Mountain states have become major transit routes. And worldwide, more than 76 tons of synthetic drugs were recorded. Just this fentanyl amount alone is enough poison to take billions of lives if spread out into society. This is no longer hidden crime. It's death spreading out in the open. In the Bible, Revelation 6-8 describes the power of destruction like this. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and its rider's name was Death, and Hades followed him. They were given authority over 1/4 of the earth to kill, with sword, with famine, with pestilence, and by the wild beasts of the earth. When death spreads through poison, violence, and lies, that picture doesn't feel far away anymore. It's showing up right here in real life. The cartels behind these networks aren't just criminal groups. They operate like huge empires with weapons, cash, global connections, and the power to twist society. They spread addiction like a plague, turn people into tools, and turn whole communities into dead zones. In this big picture, America is just the brightest spot, but the wave is sweeping across the whole world. Daniel 12:1 warned about that peak time. At that time, there will be great tribulation, such as has not been from the beginning of nations until now. The trouble isn't only wars or natural disasters. It's also the collapse of morals, when evil reaches its highest point and becomes normal. When sin no longer hides but spreads openly, that's a sign we're in the final stage of human history. When you put it all together, these events aren't random anymore. They're like puzzle pieces fitting exactly where they belong in a picture that was drawn a long time ago. The Bible doesn't just talk about disasters, it shows the order: more deception, wider death, and people losing their way. What's happening now shows that picture is almost finished. Revelation 18:23 talks about the time of judgment. For your merchants were the great ones of the earth, and all nations were deceived by your sorcery. When money, power, and poison control nations, it's not just crime. It's the sentence for a system that chose darkness over light. Judgment in the Bible doesn't come out of nowhere. It comes after people have been warned long enough. But the final picture isn't only destruction. Even in the middle of trouble, the Bible always shows a way out for anyone still willing to turn around. Genesis 7:1 records God's words to Noah: "Come into the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation." While the world drowned in the flood, salvation was still there for the one who trusted. If the signs are this clear, the question isn't about what's right or wrong anymore. It's about choice. In a world racing toward judgment, will you keep standing on the sidelines watching, or will you start looking for a safe place for your soul? Faith doesn't remove the trouble, but it opens the only door to get through it. As we wrap up this news update, everything you've just seen isn't just a bunch of separate events anymore. It forms a bigger picture of a world that's changing color right before our eyes. The cold numbers, the shocking images, the fast-spreading rhythm of sin and death, they all show that the familiar order is starting to shake. That picture doesn't stand alone. It fits right into the much larger scene the Bible sketched out long ago about the final days of human history. The Bible, in Matthew 24:6-8, describes it plainly. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation. And all these are the beginning of birth pains. As chaos, lies, and suffering keep growing, this isn't just social upheaval. It's a sign that humanity is stepping into a decisive time. This update isn't here to just repeat the news. It's to shine a light on today's reality, using what's already written in Scripture. In the middle of this dark picture, the key thing isn't fear. It's staying awake and alert. When the world outside feels more and more unsteady, what really needs to hold firm is our inner spiritual life. Psalm 46:1 reminds us, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Faith doesn't wipe away the darkness, but it gives us light so we don't get lost in it. This is also a good moment for each of us to pause and pray, not with fancy words, but with a real, honest heart. A simple, straight from the heart talk with God in the middle of all this mess can become a solid anchor for the whole family. James 5:16 says it clearly. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. When we bow down in prayer, that's when faith gets lifted up. If anything shared here touches your thoughts or stirs something in your heart, feel free to leave a short prayer or a quick reflection in the comments. Every line isn't just interaction. It's a mark of a heart searching for true peace. Even short words like that can become real encouragement for others reading at the same time. To stay connected and not miss the next messages, you can show your support by liking, sharing this with folks around you, and subscribing to the channel. Every small action helps spread the reminder to stay awake and hold on to hope in these changing times. Finally, thank you so much to everyone who's listened all the way to this point. May the Lord's peace be with you and your family in every situation. Numbers 6:24-26 says, The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen. What's counting down up in the sky that people haven't noticed yet? As 2026 just begins, the world isn't running on its usual rhythm anymore. Seas are rising, fire swirls, dark shadows cover the landmarks, strange lights hang silently in the air. Everything happens fast, piling on top of each other, giving nobody time to calm down or explain. The uneasy feeling spreads quicker than the news, and the future suddenly feels so foggy it's hard to breathe. 10 signs show up like steady knocks on humanity's mind. Cities torn apart by ocean waves, fire twisting into columns in the sky, strange creatures rising from melting ice, weird shapes printed on the clouds, sourceless lights quietly watching the earth. They don't come one by one. They crowd in together, squeezing time shorter, forcing everyone watching to wonder what it all really means. Do you notice the terrifying silence between all those upheavals? The part right ahead is the answer, laying out the pieces so each of us can face what's coming closer. And before we go on, if your heart feels uneasy right now, please leave a prayer in the comments. Tell the Lord you're listening to His warnings. Amen. Now, so you don't have to wait long, let's get right to it. 1. Powerful storm surge hits Letohani, Sicily, Italy. The sea rose up without any warning. Strong winds, high waves, water rushed straight onto the shore in just a few short minutes. Coastal roads disappeared, homes flooded, and everyday order fell apart right in front of everyone's eyes. We don't need to imagine what's happening, just look at the pictures and videos from the scene. Letohani is a small coastal town in Sicily, Italy, with about 2,800 people living right by the Ionian Sea. It's usually a quiet place, known for tourism, seaside restaurants, and narrow streets along the water. But early in 2026, Letohani found itself at the center of an unusually powerful surge. Local reports say waves offshore reached up to 19 feet, about the height of a 2-story building, way beyond what's normal or safe for the area. The seawater poured inland fast, not in little waves, but in one strong, non-stop push. Cars got shoved out of place, outdoor tables and chairs swept away, and several beachfront shops flooded deep in no time. Some main roads were completely cut off, and rescue teams had to pull back because the water was too rough. People panicked and left their homes without much warning, leaving behind floating belongings and damaged streets and buildings. Normal life just stopped. Schools closed, roads shut down, tourism came to a halt. The usual daily sounds were gone, replaced by waves slamming into structures and the strong smell of salt water everywhere in town. In moments like this, the warning in Matthew 24:7 hits home clearer than ever. Nation will rise against nation, and there will be earthquakes in various places. Nature isn't standing apart from these end-time changes, it's part of the shaking. It's not just about physical damage. Fear spread quickly through this small community. Luke 21:25 talks about nations in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. And that's exactly what Letohani is going through right now. The sea, once a source of life, turned into a direct threat, reminding everyone how fragile things really are. Some say this is just extreme weather and climate change at work. But reports from AccuWeather and local sources show this surge was much stronger than past storms in Sicily. Happening at the same time as so many other unusual events around the world, it makes people wonder if there's a deeper meaning. The waves in Letohani didn't just cause flooding, they shattered that long-held sense of safety. When the sea starts coming into homes, the line between normal and not normal gets wiped away. And if this is only the beginning, the question left hanging is, where's next? 2. Smoke tornado in El Lingüe sector, Puren, La Araucanía, Chile. The sky over Puren changed color in just a short time. Thick smoke covered everything. The light got dimmer, and the wind kept shifting directions. There wasn't any big explosion, but right from the first pictures, you could feel something wasn't right. Once the fire on the ground died down, something else started forming up above, slow but clear, and it kept the whole area on edge for a long while. Puren is in the La Araucanía region, southern Chile. It's a rural spot with about 12,000 people, surrounded by forests and farmland. Wildfires aren't unusual here during dry years. But local reports say that after a big fire in the El Lingüe area, the smoke didn't just blow away like normal. Instead, it gathered together and formed a tall, spinning column, hundreds of feet high, that lasted a few minutes before breaking apart. From the ground looking up, the smoke column kept turning steadily, pulling in more smoke and ash from around it. It felt like its own separate spinning shaft, moving on its own apart from everything else. Videos recorded by locals show the smoke and fire mixing together, swirling hard, with a clear whooshing wind sound. In that moment, you see nature not just burning, but moving in ways you can't predict, and it forced local teams to call for temporary evacuations. The event stirred up a lot of debate fast. Some weather experts say this was a fire whirl, caused by temperature differences and local swirling winds during a wildfire. They see it as a rare but explainable physical effect. On the other hand, many folks think the strength and shape of this smoke column went way beyond anything recorded in the area before, especially since it showed up after the main fire had already weakened. Revelation 8-5 paints a heavy picture. The angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and threw it to the earth, and there were peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. In this setting, fire isn't just a natural accident anymore. It becomes an accusation, putting people face to face with the results of things that have built up for a long time. Fire pouring down from above feels like a judgment. No explanations, no deals. Unease spread quickly as people realized daily life was completely turned upside down. Fields left empty, roads restricted, schools closed for a bit. Luke 21:11 talks about great signs from heaven, and in Purain, the sky became scarier than the ground below. No need for long explanations. Just looking up was enough to feel the worry spreading. You could call this a natural event, or you could see it as a warning sign. But when fire doesn't stay on the ground anymore and stands straight up in the air, that line of safety gets wiped out. If this was just a rare one-time thing, it still leaves a hard truth you can't ignore. And if not, the question still hangs there. When fire starts spinning in the sky, what comes next? 3. The Machias River Monster in Maine, U.S. Late winter on the Machias River isn't loud or dramatic. It's just cold water, slow melting ice, and a long stretch of quiet. Right in that silence, a video popped up that made a lot of folks stop and stare for a good while. Are you sure that thing moving on the water is just drifting ice with no mind of its own? Machias is a small town in Maine, about 2,000 people, folks who live off the river, and traditional fishing. Late in the cold month, as the ice started breaking up, a fisherman caught on video something long, maybe 20 to 30 feet, moving upstream against the current. Posts from I-95 FM and local Facebook pages say the video was shot in clear view, no heavy shaking or editing. In the clip, the thing doesn't just float with the flow. It bends, changes direction, and holds its shape steady even as ice around it keeps cracking. The surface is dull, light gray, not shiny or reflective like regular ice. The movement is slow but steady, like it's under control, and that makes it hard for people to call it natural reflex or accident. Leviticus 11:29-30 says, "These are the unclean crawling things on the land for you." That passage used to separate the familiar creatures from the ones people weren't supposed to touch. The shape rising in the Machias River blurs that line, showing up right as the ice melts away. Plenty of folks try to explain it in natural ways. Some say it's a long chunk of ice pushed backward by swirling water. Others mention plastic trash or a rotten log covered in mud. But those ideas run into trouble when you match them to the steady motion, the way it balances, and the clear changes in direction seen in the video. Revelation 13:1 describes, "I saw a beast rising out of the sea." Nobody's saying for sure this is that creature, but something coming up from cold water, exactly when the ice breaks, sure makes people think of hidden things slowly coming into view. What's really striking isn't just the shape or size, it's the timing. When the ice pulls back, stuff that's been under the water a long time starts showing up. Not everything that surfaces has a quick, clear answer, and not every question gets settled right away. The thing on the Machias River doesn't force anybody to believe, but it does make you think. If it's just a one-time oddity, why does it leave so many questions hanging? And if it's not, how many other things are waiting to show themselves once that last layer of ice is gone? 4. A strange cloud, shaped like a person bowing in prayer. The sky in that moment was very quiet. The cloud stayed still. The light was soft. No strong wind, no unusual sounds. The silence covered everything, and many people just naturally became quiet too, as if the whole place had shifted to a different state. In places like the Philippines and Brazil, this kind of cloud shaped like a kneeling person has shown up again on calm afternoons. Near the Basilica Minore in Naga City, thousands of people looked up at the same time and saw a familiar figure. Weather records show the cloud lasted just a few minutes before it slowly faded away. The cloud clearly showed a lowered head, the body leaning forward, arms spread out like someone praying. The edges weren't sharp, but they were clear enough for the crowd to all see the same shape. Have you ever wondered why so many people saw the exact same figure at the exact same moment? Matthew 24-30 says ahead of time, "Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the peoples of the earth will mourn." This Bible verse doesn't describe the exact shape, but it stresses the place and the timing when a sign shows up in the sky and many people see it together. The cloud didn't stand alone like one single cloud. It formed right in the middle of an open sky, with light behind it giving a natural glow, almost like a halo. People who saw it knelt down and prayed, not because anyone told them to, not organized, just on their own. The picture spread fast, almost without needing any explanation. Luke 21:27 says, "Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with great power and glory." This part is often seen as a key to understanding signs that appear in the sky, not to pin down the exact time, but to recognize what they mean. From a science view, weather experts talk about pareidolia, the way our brains spot familiar shapes in random patterns. Clouds can form human-like figures when the humidity, temperature, and light line up just right. This explanation comes from how our minds work, and it doesn't judge the spiritual side. Still, the question hangs there when you put the two views side by side. One side says it's just a natural brain reaction. The other side sees a meaningful coincidence, the religious timing, the holy place, and so many people agreeing on what they saw. Which way do you lean when both can be true at the same time? One thing is sure, the sky made people stop, look up, and think. No one has to believe, but it's hard to deny the deep feeling this left behind. When the cloud finally disappeared, the question still stayed in the air. If these shapes in the clouds are only reminders, then what happens when the sky no longer just shows a sign, but becomes something much clearer and more real? 5. Mysterious giants in the clouds. Are the old stories actually true? That afternoon, the New York sky gave no warning. Clouds hung low, the light was cold and gray, and a strange feeling spread as we looked up. In that moment, the familiar busy city suddenly felt unfamiliar. In a crowded neighborhood, one resident caught video of big cloud shapes that looked like faces and human bodies. The clouds seemed to lean down, like something was watching from above. Here we were in a city of 8 million people, yet it didn't feel like we were alone at all. The videos spread fast on Reddit and Instagram. Lots of folks called them giants, hidden in the clouds, hundreds of feet tall, with just heads and shoulders showing. The pictures weren't super clear, but they were enough to make people uneasy and watch them over and over. Genesis 6-4 came up a lot in the comments. In those days, there were giants on the earth. That Bible verse is usually hard to understand, but next to these human-shaped clouds, it got people thinking. The creepy feeling didn't come from the cloud shapes themselves. It came from the way they seemed to look down. The person filming said they felt watched the whole time, even though the clouds weren't moving fast. We might not see it clearly, but the emotion those images stirred up was real. Psalm 34:7 says, "The angel of the Lord camps around those who fear him and delivers them." For some people, this wasn't a threat, it was a protective presence, even if the image looked scary. Online, people split into two clear groups. One side said, "It's just random clouds and city optical tricks." The other side insisted the shapes were too exact to be coincidence, especially since so many saw the same thing. Skeptics talked about high winds and layered storm clouds. Still, even they admitted that being watched feeling is a hard one to shake. We're right on the line between logic and gut instinct. The Bible passages don't describe cloud phenomena directly, but they keep mentioning beings that watch humans from above. When you put those verses next to real pictures, a lot of people see them as hints rather than final answers. One thing's for sure, this made a bunch of people stop, get quiet, and think about where they fit in this huge world. There's no final explanation, just a lot of eyes turned up to the sky. If those shadowy figures are only watching for now, what happens the moment they stop standing still in the clouds? 6. A hidden pathway suddenly opens right up in the sky, and a lot of folks are quietly wondering if that day has finally come. The sky opens up in a rare kind of stillness. No strong wind, no rush or hurry, just slow-moving layers of clouds and a soft light spreading evenly everywhere. In that moment, it feels like time slows down enough for people to look up longer and think a little deeper. Against the pale gray clouds, a perfect round ring of cloud appears so clearly and evenly, it's hard to believe. It looks just like a doorway floating high in the sky, not connected to any mountain or ground below. When this picture spread online, it's easy to see why so many people couldn't look away from their screens. From what people have reported, this kind of thing has shown up in quiet, sparsely populated places, like areas along the Pacific or in Ireland. The cloud rings are hundreds of feet across, lasting only a short time but long enough to leave a strong impression. The shared videos show an almost perfect shape, no distortion, no quick fading. Acts 1-9 comes to mind for a lot of people when they see it. That verse says, "After he said this, he was taken up before their very eyes, and a cloud hid him from their sight." In the Bible, the cloud doesn't just cover, it becomes the way to another dimension. The pull comes from that unusual peace. No panic, no fear, just a quiet nudge that makes you wonder what you're really seeing. Plenty of folks commented that watching the video left them feeling lighter inside, even if they couldn't explain why. Weather experts give the usual explanation. They say it's a hole punch cloud, or sometimes called a glory, formed when ice crystals get disturbed by air currents or a plane passing through a thin cloud layer. Scientifically, it's a repeatable physical process. Still, science only describes how it happens. It doesn't really explain why the shape is so perfectly round or why it shows up in these very calm moments. We can accept the technical answer, but the feeling inside each person is different. Revelation 4:1 often gets mentioned as a kind of key. It says, "After this I looked, and there before me was a door standing open in heaven." That open door image matches strangely well with the cloud ring hanging there in front of people's eyes. When you put the two views side by side, one from science, one from the Bible, the line between them gets pretty thin. Science talks about the phenomenon. The Bible talks about what it means. Where do you stand between those two ways of seeing it? No matter which lens you use, that cloud ring still reminds people to look up and think about things beyond everyday life. If the sky really does open quietly like that, the remaining question is who will be the first to recognize what that moment truly means. 7. Strange object from deep space seems to be reaching toward Earth day by day. A bright point showed up outside the usual viewing area. It wasn't loud or flashy, but it made people stop and look. The curiosity started when the first report came from an amateur astronomer in Japan. He said he had spotted an unusual glowing object moving on a strange path. Early reports named it Comet 3I, Atlas, coming from outside our solar system. The released data shows it's miles long and has a tail stretching about 250,000 miles. It's brighter than most comets we've recorded before. That got the science community paying attention right away. When the pictures spread around, zoomed-in videos showed the object giving off uneven light, like it had lots of small bright spots along its body. A lot of folks started asking why a comet would have such a complicated light pattern. It's hard not to feel uneasy watching it move in a way that doesn't follow the usual orbits we're used to. Experts from NASA and Space.com spoke up quickly. They said it's still an interstellar comet, and the brightness increase comes from gases and ice reacting as it gets closer to the Sunday. Even so, they admitted the brightness jumped many times over in a short period, something pretty rare in past observations. Luke 21:25 gets brought up a lot when people talk about strange things in the sky. That verse in Luke chapter 21, verse 25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars, and on the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity." Those words feel very fitting right now, as we face an object coming from unknown space. Uneasiness spread as some side theories popped up. A few people think this isn't just a comet, that maybe it's something disguised, because the path and brightness aren't steady. Those ideas haven't been proven, but they show the common worry we all feel when something is beyond what we understand. Revelation 8:10 has a stronger warning tone. In Revelation chapter 8, verse 10, it says, "A great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch." The picture of a blazing object speeding through space really brings that Bible verse to mind, like a reminder of things that might be coming. Whether you look at it from science or from faith, you can't deny this comet has shaken up how we see things. It makes people look up at the sky with more questions than before and admit that not everything is under our control. If it's just a comet, why does it show up at such an unstable time in the world? And if it's not, the real message behind that light is probably waiting to be revealed in whatever comes next. 8. Ghostly shadows in the sky above the Statue of Liberty. Huge, dark shadows appeared right over the Statue of Liberty. Dark shapes spread across the New York sky for just a few short minutes, enough to scare people. The symbol of freedom was suddenly covered by something nameless, heavy, and cold. Local news reports say it happened in the afternoon on a calm day with no rain or storm. Long shadows, hundreds of feet across, slid slowly through the sky for about 5 minutes before they vanished. Cameras from different angles captured the shadows clearly falling over the area above the bay, right behind the Statue of Liberty. New York is used to bright lights and constant movement, but this time, the whole atmosphere felt noticeably quieter. People stopped, looked up, recorded it, and shared. You can hear the strange silence in those videos, not just curiosity, but a heavy feeling that's hard to explain. These shadows didn't look like regular clouds. They had sharp edges, moved slowly, and didn't break apart in the wind. Some recordings even show strange dark spots moving alongside them. The gloomy feeling spread fast, especially since it happened right over a symbol most people see as untouchable. Ezekiel 1-4 often comes up and talks about this. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, verse 4, it says, "I looked, and there was a stormy wind coming from the north, a great cloud with flashing fire and brightness all around." In the Bible, that kind of cloud isn't just weather. It's a sign of something intervening. Many people tried to calm everyone down. Some experts said it was probably light reflections or cloud shadows from different layers in the atmosphere. Still, they admitted there wasn't any solid surface that could make such clear, long-lasting shadows under those weather conditions. The arguments didn't ease the unease. On social media, people kept asking what it meant that this happened directly over the Statue of Liberty. Even watching the videos later, you can feel watched, even if you weren't there yourself. Revelation 1-7 carries the tone of a serious warning. In the book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 7, it says, "Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him." It's not comforting words. It's a reminder that no one can look away when the sign appears. The symbol of freedom being covered wasn't some random detail. In the Bible, when signs show up in the sky, it's time for people to face their choices and responsibilities. The darkness didn't attack, it just hung there long enough for everyone to see. The shadows eventually faded, the sky went back to normal, but that heavy feeling didn't. If this was a warning, the only question left is where it will show up next, and how much clearer the message will be. 9. Mysterious twin orbs in Punala, Argentina. Right there in the low sky ahead, 2 red orbs suddenly appeared. They just hung, still in the air, like they were waiting to be noticed. The light wasn't blinding, but it was clear enough that you couldn't look away. If it was you, would you have stopped and stared for a long time like we did? Punala is a quiet, sparsely populated rural area in Argentina. It's a place where quite a few UFO reports have popped up here and there on forums like Reddit. From what people shared, these orbs were a few feet across, glowing a steady red and pulsing in the same rhythm. They didn't zoom around or spin, they just floated at the same height, giving everything a strange, out-of-sync feeling with the space around them. When those 2 orbs were there, the air seemed to change. No sound at all, but a faint vibration spread out, like the silence was being pressed down. We stood still, watching in a way that's hard to put into words. All the usual sounds felt pushed far away. Time slowed way down, and nobody in the group said what was on their mind. Joel 2:30 mentioned something like this: "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth." That Bible verse doesn't describe the exact shape or color, but it stresses that signs will appear in the sky, things beyond our normal way of understanding. In that moment, the connection felt really clear. After a few minutes, the 2 orbs started to fade. No sudden speed up, no trail left behind. They just vanished like they'd never been there. The surroundings went back to normal, but that empty feeling lingered. We looked at each other. Nobody tried to explain it. We just stayed quiet for a while. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great signs in the sky." People often bring up that verse more as a reminder than a full explanation. These strange signs don't always carry a direct message, but they're enough to make you rethink where you stand when faced with things way beyond what we know. Some folks say it was just drones or a rare natural event, but the smooth motion, the total silence, and the way they disappeared so suddenly make those ideas hard to buy. When you really watch closely, it's easy to see something doesn't fit with everyday technology. The 2 orbs are gone from the Punala sky now, but the questions are still hanging around. If this was only the beginning, what might we see next time? And will it still be just 2? 10. Strange fire rain in Oklahoma. Everything happened really fast in Oklahoma, too fast for anyone to get ready. Out of the dark sky, sudden streaks of light came falling one after another, making sharp crackling pops when they hit the ground. The flashes of fire were quick and harsh, enough to make anyone watching step back without thinking. If you saw it with your own eyes, would you just think it was some normal accident? The place this happened is a sparsely populated wooded area in Oklahoma, a spot that's had a lot of hard-to-explain things in the past. From videos and stories spreading on Facebook, hundreds of these fire streaks fell in a short time, scattered all over, not bunched up in one spot. There were no reports of planes, drones, or any military activity nearby. The lights fell like rain, hit the ground, and flared up in an instant. Some made small explosions with a dry, sharp sound that made people close by feel real danger. We could see no power lines, no energy stations, and no spreading fire, but the worry spread fast. Revelation 8-7 described something like this long ago. There came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down on the earth. The picture of fire falling from the sky isn't given as a symbol. It's shown as a direct act, a judgment. When you put them side by side, the similarity is hard to ignore. Some folks said it might be white phosphorus falling from somewhere, but that idea quickly fell apart. No source, no vehicle involved, and no official explanation ever came out. When there's no physical cause you can point to, the doubt just gets heavier. Ezekiel 38-22 keeps it strong. I will rain down torrents of rain, hailstones, fire, and burning sulfur on him and on his troops. Here, fire isn't just a warning. It's the tool carrying out the sentence. People's role in that passage is simply to face the consequences. The fire streaks in Oklahoma didn't last long, but they left a huge question mark. Are we seeing a rare accident? Or are we right at the end of a series of warnings that have been talked about for thousands of years? If this really is fire from heaven, the question isn't, what is it, anymore. It's when. And when a bigger fire rain comes, will we still have time to turn around? These 10 phenomena we've seen aren't happening by themselves. They're connecting, like pieces of the same big picture slowly coming into view. From skies changing color, strange lights, shadowy figures in the clouds, to fire falling to the earth, they're showing up more often, closer, and more directly. When you put them all together, it makes you stop and really think about where this world is heading. Matthew 24-6-8 gave an early heads up. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but that's just the beginning of the birth pains. What's written there isn't meant to scare us. It's to help us get our hearts and minds ready for things we can't avoid. As the signs keep growing, staying indifferent becomes a dangerous choice. What stands out is that the Bible doesn't just talk about judgment. It also stresses waking up and turning back. John 3:16 shows another way. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. Even in all this uncertainty, hope is already there for anyone who seeks it. Those 10 signs can leave a lot of people feeling shaken, but they also open a door to take a good look at our own spiritual life. You can call it coincidence, or you can see it as a serious wake-up call to get your faith, your values, and your daily priorities back on track. The choice isn't in the signs themselves, it's in how we respond. Revelation 3:3 puts it plainly. Remember, therefore, what you have received and heard. Hold it fast and repent. This message isn't for the crowd. It speaks straight to each one of us. When time doesn't feel as long as it used to, getting our hearts ready becomes really urgent. If something stirs in your heart right now, feel free to leave a short, honest prayer or thought in the comments below. It doesn't need to be long, just real and from the heart. Also, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel so we don't miss any of the messages God is opening up day by day. Finally, thank you so much for staying with me through this whole journey. May the peace of the Lord be with you and your family, keeping you safe through the turbulent days ahead. Amen.
The president is on the South Lawn. He just left a little while ago for Andrews Air Force Base, where he's headed down to Florida to spend the weekend. And now
NATO has been dealing with us on Greenland. We need Greenland for national security very bad.
On Denmark and several other European countries, unless there's a deal to purchase.
Greenland's not for sale!
It comes as thousands march.
Earlier today, we heard from the sheriff in Osceola County.
We get that person notified, we'll make their names available, and we'll also tell you where they're from.
What happens if the world you're living in doesn't have enough time left to fix its mistakes? When the ice up north turns into a hot spot for fighting over, when gunshots ring out in quiet neighborhoods, 2026 isn't just a number on the calendar anymore. It's that uneasy feeling creeping in every single day. Protests explode, alliances break apart, economies get turned into weapons, violence hides for a while, then suddenly shows its face. Everything comes at you fast, too fast for people to really understand what they're seeing. Where do we stand in all of this chain of events? Are we really safe? Before we go any deeper, let's just pause for a second. And if you can, maybe leave a prayer in the comments for all of us in this shaky time. And now, let's get started right away with the first event. The storm of protests in the Arctic. People chant loudly, "Greenland is not for sale." Strong winds blow, snow whips across faces, flags shake in the bone-chilling cold. Against the white backdrop of Arctic ice and snow, one chant keeps ringing out: Greenland is not for sale. Watching on screen, we're not just hearing about this, we're seeing a quiet land suddenly become the center of a worldwide showdown. Greenland is the world's largest island, covering about 836,330 square miles, sitting between the North Atlantic and the Arctic Ocean. The capital, Nuuk, has only around 56,000 people, mostly Inuit, but the island's location gives it huge global importance. Greenland is an autonomous territory of the Kingdom of Denmark, where folks are used to free education, universal healthcare, and a steady welfare system they don't want to give up. Tensions started when ideas about buying or transferring control of Greenland came up. This icy place isn't just snow and rock. It holds huge deposits of rare earth minerals needed for tech and defense. Melting ice in the Arctic is also opening new shipping routes, cutting thousands of miles between Asia and Europe, making Greenland a key spot for military and economic reasons. According to Fox News, protests broke out at the same time in Greenland and Denmark, right after those proposals got mentioned. In Nuuk, thousands braved temperatures below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, marching down main streets with Greenland flags, chanting in Kalaallisut to affirm their sovereignty. The crowd moved toward the consulate area, standing close together in the freezing wind, making it clear they won't back down. In Copenhagen, about 2,200 miles away, even bigger crowds gathered in front of the U.S. Embassy with strong, no-nonsense messages of opposition. Surveys in Greenland show around 85% of people are against any change to the island's sovereignty. The reason is simple. Losing control could mean losing the whole social foundation that supported their communities for generations. In the crowds, traditional songs rise up, not for show, but to declare their identity and deep tie to this land. That scene brings to mind the story in 1 Kings 21-1-3, when Naboth refused to hand over his ancestors' vineyard to King Ahab, no matter the high price offered. "I will not give you my ancestral inheritance." In the Bible, land isn't just property. It's a trust handed down, something money or power can't buy. Today, in Greenland, the land is seen as something worth protecting at all costs, like the promise in Exodus 3-8, where God says, "I have come down to rescue them and bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land." When a place gets targeted for its riches, the natural response from those living there is to stand guard and not compromise. Some say this is just another political fight that'll fade like others before. But in a world already full of tension, the warning in Matthew 24-6 hits home. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed. What's happening shows the strain isn't staying in meeting rooms anymore. It's spilling out onto the streets. The protest storm in Greenland isn't just a quick reaction. It's a sign that land, resources, and sovereignty are becoming new flashpoints in today's world. And if this is only the beginning, how long can this icy place hold strong when bigger waves from the great powers really start crashing in? Tariff threat, a sword hanging over Europe, tensions rising between countries. Those eye-catching headlines and hot news reports have been coming fast and heavy the last few days. A statement out of Washington rocked European markets. The possibility of high tariffs, from double-digit percentages up to nearly 25% of the value of goods, aimed at a group of allied nations. At the same time, political centers in Brussels, Paris, and Copenhagen reacted right away, showing this isn't just market talk or knee-jerk reactions. It's a real signal of rising tension. The background to this move is tied straight to the Arctic. That icy island in the North Atlantic holds a significant share of the Western Hemisphere's rare earth minerals, estimated at more than 1/10 of the world's total reserves, the stuff that powers everything from smartphones to defense systems. Melting ice is opening new shipping routes, cutting thousands of miles off the Asia-Europe journey, and turning the area into a key strategic crossroads that every major power has its eye on. From the White House, the list of countries that could face these tariffs was made clear, including the nation that manages the island, along with several key partners in Northern and Western Europe. The planned tariff levels are high enough to choke already fragile trade after so many shocks, and Europe is